What's up, War Report family? This is your Auburn versus Penn State postgame brought to you by prizepicks.com. Let's go.
Pre-game, halftime, and post the whole time the chat live. We around our folks, but we gon' keep the chat tight, keeping out trolls. That's why you gotta get your green name on, your pre-game on, cause ain't nobody doing it better, reviewing it better, building rapport so you in tune with the players, with some quick prize picks so you can scoop you some cheddar. Get your mug or your shirt with the letters. Game time.
What's up, War Report family? We are here. It's the War Report post-game. Auburn versus Penn State. The game is a final. Final is Penn State more points than Auburn. Auburn got absolutely ass blasted by Penn State in this one. Fellas, what do we think, man? This was a tough one. I know we're gonna have lots of comments to get to, but let me get you guys' opening thoughts on what happened in that second half.
I'm pacing myself.
Okay, all right. Use your words.
Yeah.
Use your words. Let me start. So, no, it didn't look. There were no halftime adjustments that I could see. I think that I said before the halftime that I thought we should try something different. I thought we might actually see Calzada, literally anything different. It felt like it was time to make a change at quarterback, at least for this game. They did go to Robbie Ashford eventually in the third quarter, but the game had already gotten away from them at that time. It was clear what the plan was to just pin your ears back and just go after the quarterback. I mean, they were sending more guys than Auburn could block, and it was tough. And the only touchdown of the day came on a blitz recognition by Robbie, just kind of throwing the ball out there to Jarquez. But there's got to be some kind of different. You learn something about your O-line in this one. And then Penn State just gave everybody a blueprint for how to play Auburn the rest of the season, unless you have significant changes in how you run this offense. So I hate to say it, man, but this was our coaching staff getting outcoached. They got outcoached in this one. It's too tough for me to lay too much at the feet of the defense on this one. I mean, we didn't do anything offensively in this game. There was nothing offensively in this game. Coming out in the second half, they immediately give Penn State a short field. This was a one-score game at halftime. So it's tough. It's tough when you go out. I knew we were going to have to score points to win regardless. Like, even if, you would have assumed you'd needed at least 3 scores from the offense in the second half to win this game, right? Even though you're down 1 score, like, I didn't expect the defense to pitch a shutout in the second half. I just expected they're going to have to get, 2 or 3 touchdowns in the second half to win this one. They got one pretty much what I would call a garbage time touchdown. So I don't even know if it counts. This was a tough one. Guys, your thoughts on what we saw?
I'll go B. Coming out in the half, I wanted to see more consistency on both sides of the ball, especially on offense. It was the wrong type of consistency. We were consistently getting beat pretty much on both sides of the ball. To Mike's point, I didn't like how they managed Robbie when they went with him. I didn't like it at all. I think when he threw the pick, I didn't even like the play call because Manny Diaz basically dropped everyone back, had a spy, and dared him to make a play. And on a 3rd and long situation, you're in scoring position, just take the points, coach him up after that. But you're forcing Robbie, a young player who's trying to prove himself, to make a play. He throws a pick that he shouldn't throw. I just didn't like how he was managed. I agree with you, Mike. This coaching staff got out coached. We just got beat on both sides in the trenches. We just got beat. Even though we gave up a short field, Mike G, Penn State shouldn't score 3 plays later and they never throw a pass.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I you don't want to lay the defeat. I say this was a collective team and coaching effort. We just got beat in every phase of the game. And there's very little positive you can draw from it. There's you leave this game with more questions about your team than you had going into the game, because we still have no resolve with the QB situation. We still are questioning the identity of the offense. Tank carried the ball 9 times. 9. I kept saying he needs the ball in his hands. He carried the ball 9 times. Yeah. Now, I get it. We were from behind, so you're trying to throw to get yourself back in the game, but that brings us back to the previous point. You have problems at quarterback that you have yet to fix. You just got to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers and let them work. And I think the defense played as good of a game as you can ask them, but if you turn the ball over 4 times, even if they played a better game, we still lose by multiple scores.
Yeah.
We still lose by multiple scores if they played a great game.
Yeah.
They did. But if they did, we still lose by multiple scores. It's still a dominating performance by Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, the only place I'll disagree is that if you're scoring points, the prospects for the flow of the game changes when you're scoring, right? And it makes them play differently. But they didn't have to do anything differently because we never proved we could do anything offensively. Before I get to Brian, I want to get to some super chats here. B. Will's Forehead, we missed your super chat at the end of halftime. Thank you for the super chat. Pretty much just giving us some sunshine pump. We appreciate that. Garrett Weaver, thank you for coming a member. Amani Smoot, I can't lie, I'm salty as hell. I'm a little angry, but War Eagle till I die.
War Eagle back at you, Amani.
That's a lot of people are at, man. Tory Moore, I'm tired of being tired. I'm sick and tired of being tired. Oh, man. He needs the Holy Spirit to help him. Brian Moreland, thank you for becoming a member. Welcome. Spicy Penguin, how about that culture? Hire Boise talent, get Boise results. This was worse than USC in 03. I don't know that I agree that this was worse than USC in 03. I filmed that game. I was there. We didn't move the ball. We didn't score a single point in that game.
And that team was talented enough to do what they did the next year. That was a national title
squad. Yeah,
exactly. This is not that team. We do not have that level of talent here. It's not the same.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree, but thank you, Spicy. 41-12, 41-12. WTF that I just watched. Add Harsin to B. Will's bums list after this one. I've been trying to keep our staff off B. Will's bums list. I've been advocating for it behind the scenes. I don't know. Tonight, I don't know if they're going to stay off it tonight. Jess, watch me. Okay, Mike and C. Were the games that stressful while we were undergrads? I know we lost some games besides the 04 season, but damn, they looked like high schoolers out there. Honestly, they weren't this stressful. They weren't. When we were undergrads, as a matter of fact, from 03 to 06, 07, when me and Caesar left, that was the winningest stretch of Auburn football in Auburn football history. They won a ton of games. So
yeah, we enjoyed a lot of prosperity during that. The only frustrating moment, I would say, Spicy mentioned USC. The following week, we went to Georgia Tech and struggled and lost that game. I think that may have been the most frustrating stretch throughout our time at Auburn, as far as I can remember.
Right.
And the expectations were really high. So that was really more frustrating, but stressful. I'm not sure if it was this stressful.
Yeah, it was tough. Stephen Nash, I just don't think Harsin is taking this seriously. A serious coach sees the errors and fixes them. We keep seeing the same errors. Now, I'll tell you how I felt during this one, whether this is fair or unfair. I went back to Texas A&M last year, and I was like, all right, it's time to pull the quarterback, right? Like, it's clear they're just not going to let him do anything. Now, TJ had a couple of runs where he recognized, and I've been saying this all season long and even the preseason, if he's going to make decisions to run, he has to make it early. Beat the defense to the spot and then get 5 to 8 yards and fall down. He did that a couple times tonight, but you're not going to continue to get away with that against a decent defensive coordinator. So making plays, not turning the ball over, we just didn't. Feeling the rush. Feeling the rush is something that every good quarterback has to do. So the strip, fumble from the side, like you have to be able to feel that rush coming and get rid of the ball or do something. And the coaches, I think maybe they could have come up with some plan for Robbie to help them with his legs early. I think he was a leading rusher again in this one, was he not?
I think so.
Yeah, after the big run, he may have ended the leading rusher. We'll have to go back and look. College football, they insist on counting sack yards against your rushing total. So, like, maybe
I think they're still giving it to Tank.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that comment, Stephen. Gabrielle Cavalier, love you, sister. Wonder if they fired up the private jet yet.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll get in touch with Yellowwood and see what's going on there.
It's probably been fired up since February when they first tried it. Honestly, they had it. They told the pilot, "Hey, you keep it hot for me. I'll be back."
Cleveland Brown rephrase whole game equals Murphy's Law. We are in trouble, fellas. Western Kentucky is now a toss-up. I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
I think there's a chance. There's a real chance we see a complete revamp on offense after this one. Exclusive TV. They have no choice but to win out the rest of the season after this loss.
That's how bad it was. Exclusive.
Yeah. All or nothing, right?
You must win every game to make up for this.
Aaron Finney, Robbie should have been used in goal situations. I thought that would be the plan coming into the season. We would see him inside the 20. I mean, prior to this game, they had scored on every trip inside the 20.
Yeah.
And they reversed that trend today. Evan Scott, we are kind of bad, simple, but effective. I like it. Joe Kyle, it isn't rocket science. You cannot compete with above average talent or average talent without a serviceable QB. We do not have that in TJ. Give up on him. Now, this is one of those things where I'm just kind of like, I know what people are going to accuse me of. I mean, I think you could, no matter who started the season, the way it's been going, you could have said that about any of the quarterbacks on our roster. I will say, though, I do feel like TJ has been given his fair shot.
Yeah.
I think TJ has been given his fair shot to do that. No, don't do that. Don't do that. The turnovers are on him.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I am not disagreeing with you. I'm just drinking a little bit, man. That's all it is. You keep going. You keep going. I'll jump in.
The turnovers are on him, man. Like, being able to field the rush, to do things consistently. You have to be able to elevate the team around you. I'm not sure he's doing that. Garrett Weaver just hates seeing our rivals rolling through, and we are struggling every year. It's tough, man. It's tough.
Frustrating.
Justin Jones, you guys are too generous. This was a disaster, a program killer. Again, not quite there, but I will agree. This again was an ass blasting. It was tough. Give Penn State credit. They showed up motivated and prepared.
He's accurate.
Yeah. B with a power washer. This was a power washer ass blast, and it was tough to watch. Big Gap, still great to be in Auburn, Tiger. Thanks again. He got the extra ticket that we had to this game. I'm sorry for how that went for you, but
yeah, man.
Thank you for being
and the caveman life coach, man. It's the first game with this.
Oh man,
we are sincerely sorry that this had to be the game for the first time.
Hey, caveman, look how great we are. We made sure you beat the traffic, so. That's Auburn hospitality for you. Doug Easom, the coaches are easy to blame today, but the players have to execute the plays when they are on the field. Coaches can't do that for them. I think it's enough blame to go around everybody.
Yeah, it is.
James Jordan, is Robbie the move going forward? He gave us our only spark. I think that the competition only gets tougher from here. And this is what I said about this game. Like, how you lost this game, if you lost it, was what's going to dictate what they do moving forward. So I think, to me personally, TJ has a tough case to make going forward, because regardless of how you feel like he played, the way that O-line gave up pressure, I have to believe that people are going to employ that same game plan against us. Right. And it's going to be really difficult for him if he's not going to make smart decisions, get rid of the football, and not turn it over at the very least. But you can't take too many of them sacks. We got some more here. Lots of chats coming in. We appreciate you guys joining us on the post game. Ramon Blakely, do we even make a bowl game at this point? Again, I'm not there yet. I think this team makes a bowl.
I'll put it this way. I remember how I felt after Georgia State. That was almost a year ago. I remember how I felt after that game. and we wasn't quite sure what was going to happen moving forward.
Right.
Now we'll know in a few more weeks, but I'm not ready to suggest that. I put it this way: I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. This team and coaching staff determines that in the next few weeks whether or not we look like a bowl team.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
So I'm sitting here, I'm reading these comments, and I'm trying to figure out how to assess one very, very simple thing. We were pressured constantly, and it didn't matter who was at quarterback. Robbie gave us a spark, but very shortly thereafter, with the lead that they had, they could just attack the quarterback. They could just attack, which is what Manny Diaz does best. I remember an Auburn broadcast, it had to be like 2 years ago. It was when Gus was still the head coach. And he said, Auburn, I don't remember which game and I don't remember which announcer. He said, Auburn is a great example of what happens when you have elite skill everywhere but the trenches. I said, is he right? Fast forward 2 years, we have turned over the quarterback position. We have turned over the secondary. We have turned over the wide receiver position. Running back got better, all top to bottom. The offensive line did not change. It changed the least. We got the least transfers in. We got the smallest numbers of signees in 2020 and 2021 from as far as position groups. The offensive line is the biggest problem we have. What it takes to be successful behind the offensive line that we have. And we thought and hoped that we could be better this year. It doesn't look like we're any better this year at the offensive line. And it looks like Penn State improved significantly year over year, which is something they maybe had a chance to do. James Franklin has been there a long time, and they have been recruiting very well the last 2 years, especially. They've been turning it up. It didn't show last year. It showed this year. This year was the difference between, well, look, they have been top 10 in recruiting, and we have been top 25 in recruiting. But if you want to talk about just what we did along the line, it's even worse.
Right.
The question now becomes, if our O-line is going to be what it is, does it matter what quarterback you put back there if he's not special? If it's not Nick Marshall, if it's not Cam Newton, if it's not Joe Burrow, does it matter what quarterback you put behind that offensive line?
Yeah, I'll be interested to look at the tape after this one. I'm not saying the line played great, but there were certainly plenty of opportunities in that first half to do things. They drove the ball. When you come out of the half, I think if you're Penn State, it's a pretty simple game plan.
You smell blood.
Yes, send more guys than they can block.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Sure.
So the line is going to take, I think, a disproportionate amount of heat for this one, but the line wasn't the reason that we lost this game. It wasn't the reason we lost this game.
Wasn't the only reason.
Right,
Every
It wasn't the only reason.
Yeah, I don't even think it was most of it. I think we had probably a bad game plan. The game plan wasn't good, and this is I've rarely said this about this coaching staff, but I'll say it today. I don't think the game plan was good, and the adjustments weren't there. Right. Because playing ball at the Power 5 level is a game of chess. You come out hot, people make adjustments. You adjust to their adjustments, and you keep playing that chess match until somebody wins. We moved the ball in that first half against Penn State fairly effectively. They just didn't get in the end zone. Penn State made adjustments. Auburn didn't make the right adjustments. It got tough after that. Tyrone Long, the defense is awful. What happened?
I guess he means Mike G.
Yeah. Just call me anything after this. Alabama Prep, good to see you, man. One of our longtime subscribers.
I don't know if he chatted anything, but it's a lot of chat, so it's likely we missed it.
Yeah, if there's a comment here, just drop that comment and we'll get to it. Alabama Prep. Ambitious engineer, can't lie. I didn't like what I saw from Harsin. No fight, no emotion, just dry and seemed content with the performance.
Well, I'll say this about Harsin. His temperament, he looked disappointed, but he's not animated on the sideline. Never has been. So he's been consistent in that regard. So I'm pretty sure he's not happy with this performance, but he's not going to show it like other coaches we see in our conference.
Right. TJ the 5, Robbie the 4, T.O. at the point.
5 turnovers at this point.
Got it. Yeah, I was like, but yeah, it's rough. The turnovers are hard. It's hard to win games when you have that many turnovers. Haley Tubbs, if Calzada is hurt, they need to pipe
pipe up and let
let everybody know, because it makes no sense. I thought TJ would have a shorter leash. Yeah, I mean, listen, the player has a lot to do with why sometimes they don't announce injuries as well too. Yeah. So they're part of how that message is managed. So Calzada may not want to announce to people, but I was convinced, if you heard us in the pregame and you heard me at halftime, I was convinced if this game went this way, we would see Calzada at some point. We didn't. I'm sure they're going to have questions about that. Ike is in the post game. I may text him to ask that question. Jordan Ingram, not sure Cam could win with that line. Again, I think they're going to take a disproportionate amount of the blame for a bad game plan. A bad game plan.
Disagree. The only reason I disagree is because look at how effectively we did move down the field. So if it was as simple as the game plan's bad, then we wouldn't have been moving the ball at all, because we've certainly seen years before this year and even last year where we couldn't move the ball at all, at barely any. And I gave that, okay, that's a bad game plan. I don't think that was a problem here. The problem was we got down when we couldn't execute certain plays in the red zone, in scoring opportunities. And then once that gap widens, it gets easier for the opposing team that's up to pin their ears back. If you get nervous, like TJ got hurt, I don't know if he got seriously hurt. He was grabbing at his shoulder. All right, so now you're tentative. You may have been a little tentative about the rush. He wasn't too tentative. He obviously wasn't worried about holding the ball too long, because that's what led to his interception. So he was feeling the rush somewhat, wasn't too, that clock in his head wasn't going off too fast. Shortly thereafter, once he got somewhat injured with that shoulder, then he started looking way more nervous in the pocket than he had looked every snap prior. And then the rush looked like it started to get to him more. What happens? Let me say this. The defense giving up the runs that they did, for the run defense to be the strength of this team, I disagree that the defense can't bear any blame here. Now, I'm not telling you that if they played better, it would have been a different game, because I think what their offense did against our defense and what their defense did against our offense, we weren't going to win this game. But to give up the runs that they gave up, the guys who we were talking about how we got pros on the defensive line, like that was astounding. That was a little, that took me back a little bit. We knew the offense might struggle. We know the offense has had troubles, but the defense not only gave up runs, they gave up big runs to true freshmen, to every running back that was out back there. 8 off of us today, and they 8 off of us at home. That is a serious issue. That to me, that says their offensive line did some moving, and they were doing some holding. Echo Leota got held visibly quite a few times, but the defense played. Everybody fell short today. Everybody fell short. There's plenty enough blame to go around, but I just don't think that it was the defense is completely scot-free. I think that once you don't capitalize, Harsin said this before the season started. He said, we're not good enough to have these lapses in judgment. He was talking about maturity, knowing the down, knowing the time on the clock. He said, yeah, we're not good enough to just be able to not have everything nailed and perfect when it comes to our mental preparation. And man, he was right. Our margin for error is so small with this team. And we continue to make those errors, and we don't have a team that is built to come back because we aren't that good yet. We're just not. We're not that good.
Yeah, I think part of the game plan is adjustments to adjustments, which is what we didn't see. So that's why the defense and the O-line are going to take the bulk of this. But ultimately, they adjusted to what we were doing in the first half, and we didn't adjust to those adjustments. Getting back here, Caveman, hi, guys. Tough game. However, Penn State is better than all preseason pundits predicted. Missouri is a must-win with our remaining schedule, in my opinion. So I said this when we were picking schedules. I said, depending on what we look like, and if those first half offenses woes continue, I'm worried about this game. This is a game that you absolutely cannot lose.
Right.
You're gonna lose to Penn State. You cannot lose to Missouri. I can't. But I don't think there's any game outside of Western Kentucky I wouldn't be worried about if they played like this. And you have competent coaches on the other end. Lance Morgan says you have to choose a QB and get them all the reps. TJ is in it, period. I think a lot of people are going to be over TJ after this game. Listen, it's a young man that has talent, but his time to put it together is running out with the team that he has around him.
Right.
Ben Bloodworth, time to follow the Auburn tradition of taking Ole Miss's head coach. It's funny you say that. Like, I just saw Tommy Tuberville on Wednesday at Bruce Pearl's foundation thing. And I filmed a lot of games and practices for him, but I think that comment is funny. I had a throwback seeing him. Appreciate the super chat, Johnny B. Our guy, Mike Hicks. Still early, but we are in trouble with Schmedding at DC. I'm not sure we're quite there yet. Stephen Nash, B-Will, dude, if you look at face value with no football knowledge, defense could be blamed, but you think they weren't tired with all those bad offensive series. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're not going to move the ball, if you're not going to sustain drives, like they had a chance. This was a one-score game at the half. And the first thing we did was we gave them the ball at the 50-yard line. Now, you can say what you want about the runs that they gave up. But, you know, the expectation cannot be that the defense has to play a perfect game if you're only going to score 12 points. The expectation to win that game would be a shutout from the defense, essentially. At some point, they were going to break with the way that we weren't scoring. And if you have to sustain drives, you have to keep them off the field. They had a tough first half. They still kept us in it. You go into the second half, and then what is the expectation? The expectation is that you give up no points in the second half?
No,
None?
not at all.
Zero?
The defense didn't. They aren't solely the reason. I'm not telling
sure
you
I
that
agree.
I'm
not sure I agree, Mike. Here's why I say that is because we were having sustainable drives in the first half. It wasn't like last week with San Diego State where they were doubling up on us in time of possession. We were actually leading in time of possession.
We were having sustainable. We were having sustainable drives in the first quarter. Say that right. The first quarter. In the second quarter, it got rough. It got real rough. And then at the half, you got to score points to win. We only scored 12 points in this game. I don't understand.
We were going to lose. We were going to lose.
I don't understand.
If that was all we could do, we were going to lose. But the defense had not had to put out the amount of effort that it took to keep us in games going back to 2019 or even last year, 2021. That's not what this first half was. The total number of plays was not what they had to do. And we're supposed to be deeper this year than we were last year. So to come out in their first drive, well, for number one, for our first drive to be so bad and put the defense in a bad position, yes. But for their first drive to result in points, they didn't punt until the fourth quarter. Every drive, the defense got on the field. Penn State scored points. That's rough. That's rough. They didn't give it up that bad last year when we were playing worse on offense.
It was kind of calling off the dogs. By then, they could have still ran their own.
Well, you didn't prove that they had to do anything differently. Like, listen, they could have played their most aggressive game plan, right? Because after a whole quarter of you pretty much saying, hey, we're not going to do anything offensively. If I'm the defense, I'm taking chances. I'm pinning my ears back. I'm doing all the things. The opportunities were there offensively for Auburn even to be up at the half and make them play a different game. You guys are ignoring the causality of we didn't show them anything in the first half. So when they come out in the second half, they're making adjustments. They didn't even play the same defensive game plan in the first half and in the second half that they did in the first half. The same is true for their offense. I just think there's a causality to it all, that this game goes differently if you can sustain drives and show them something different in the first half. I mean, at the start of the second half than you did in the first. You didn't show them anything. They came out, and again, credit to their coaches. This is why I lay it at the feet of game planning. Part of the game plan is adjustment to adjustments. I saw them adjust to us. I didn't see us adjust to them at all in this one, right? And we're blaming players, but the truth is, I just don't.
No. I blame everybody. Let's be clear on that. Let's be clear on that.
Sure.
I blame it's not either or. It was an execution problem today. And then there was a coaching problem today.
Right. But the problems for this team started offensively. They didn't start defensively. It
I'll give
started
you that.
offensively.
I'll give you that.
And then it trickled over to them until eventually they broke. So, I mean, I just can't look at a game where we scored 12 points and just, like I said, I know there are some things that you never want to give up on defense. You don't want to give up big runs, but this was a talented team on the other end. I expected them to make plays. What I expected Auburn to do was be able to match those plays at some point. They definitely couldn't do that today, so it was disappointing. Rick says that was a pants down in the middle of the grocery store butt whooping, total humiliation. We do not have a top tier defense, FYI. I don't think anybody's arguing anything on this team is top tier right now. Bryant Harris, coaches lost the first half. Every time TJ made a play, they would take him out, possibly ending the rhythm. This is going to be a topic of discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Have we seen the end of this?
What do you mean?
Obviously, we've seen the end of it. If we're questioning if TJ's ever going to be the QB, but the switching of quarterbacks, When there's a rhythm going, you see a new quarterback get in. And there were times, now TJ, to his credit, actually bailed the coaches out in this because he got back in on third downs and actually converted some of these situations. But do we see the end of a QB switching a QB in every play? Have we seen the last of this?
I think if the line continues to play this way, you have to make a decision to play with the guy who gives you the best shot. Everybody's going to say that's Robbie, but again, I'm laying the feet of this at game planning. If you do not have a plan to get the ball out of the quarterback's hand quickly, knowing that your line is going to give up pressure, it's not going to work with any quarterback. He's going to have to be Cam Newton or Nick Marshall for it to work.
Right.
And that's really tough to put on any quarterback. So you need to come up with an offensive game plan that is quick fire. Like, it's funny. Mississippi State's lines, they look a lot better than they are in actuality because Will Rogers doesn't ever hold on to the ball.
Right.
It's hard to get to him because he knows where he's going pre-snap. Ed Darby mentioned at the halftime about the pre-snap read that he missed to Coy Moore. Right, you have to read that pre-snap and get rid of the ball. Like if you're making all your reads post-snap, it's going to be really difficult to beat good teams consistently. Riley says defense looked like a sieve. The last part, don't wear orange ever again. Vandy has a better record now. Wow. I'm in Germany. I'm going to bed. Hey man, sleep tight, bro. Don't let.
I hate you had to stay up for this, man.
Yeah, don't let the Nittany Lions bite. Joe Kyle, it's all starts with the QB position. Let Ashford or Calzada, if he is healthy, get the reps from here on out. We are doomed with TJ. Guys,
I don't see. Okay, it's hard to take what Robbie did when the game was over and say, "Hey, is that exactly what we are going to see from Robbie?" Because Robbie threw an INT, and instantly from the Twitter account, everybody's like, "Oh, now we've got no quarterbacks. Robbie isn't great." None of these guys were going to be great coming out the gate. They are undercooked. Everybody's undercooked, but the time to serve the meal is right now. So what do you do? And that's a real question. I would ask the chat. I would ask you guys, if you need 3 to 4 games for one guy to be a starter consistently before they start to walk in the promise of whatever their potential is, but you've got major games right now, what do you do? It's going to be ugly on the way no matter what. No matter what, if none of the guys are exceptional talents, we know the exceptional talents at quarterback that have been able to carry teams by themselves. We don't have one of those guys. We do not have one of those guys. So everybody wants to cycle a quarterback in like it's roulette just to keep it going to see, what can he do? Okay, well, listen, we don't have that guy. We didn't have that guy last year. We don't have that guy this year. So what does anybody want to do? Because there's nothing that's going to substitute for time and learning and development other than being in there, taking your lumps, and getting real experience. So what do you do?
I think that's why the question about Calzada is real, because he's already got all the time on the field, right? So, like, how bad could he actually be that you're not giving him the shot at this point? I think that we'll see if he gets a shot. The reports coming out of practice where he got snaps with the one. So there was at least some anticipation that they might need him in this game based on what they observed from the first 2 games. And I think that became a reality at some point. Maybe Harsin just said, this is a lost cause. Let's just get ready for next week instead of throwing Calzada out there.
You answered my question, because that's what I was going to say. With the way things were going up front and with how the offense was going, do you put Calzada in there under those circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're maybe looking at Zach as a guy who doesn't need. Essentially, he's a veteran guy who played almost every game in the SEC last year and won his fair share of big games. And, he expects that he can come off the bench cold and do well. And when I say cold, I mean this season, right? But, he's not like Robbie where he had no in-game experience coming in.
Right.
So I think you prepare differently. You started the process this week and you're preparing differently for next week based on what you evaluate from this game. And all I can say is it's got to be the right decision moving forward. Marcus Holland committing to forming an identity and stick with it. That's essentially what we're talking about. And make audibles from that game plan identity. We need more of a commitment to rushing and play action. It's really hard to be one-dimensional in this league. Yeah. In Power 5. At the end of the day, if you can't throw the ball, even running it, I don't think it would have mattered how many times we gave the ball to Tank today. They weren't going to let him do nothing.
Once we got in the red zone, they would have just stiffened up because we couldn't hit the quarterback couldn't hit a red zone pass for TD, so it wouldn't have mattered too much.
And whatever the play call was didn't account for the adjustments that they were making in the red zone. It just would have been really tough. A lot of people are going to talk about Tank's carries. I don't really think that's a story here because I think if you give it to him, they're just going to load the box to stop him. So unless Tank is being Superman and knocking off 3 guys every other play, it probably doesn't matter. TJ can't play with this line in front of him. As soon as Ashford was in the game, the D-line had to square up more with the line and hold lanes. I think there's truth to this. If Robbie, when he hits a few passes and they have to play him honest, right, yeah, but he still has to hit those passes. Again, he got in early and then he threw an unforced interception, and it's really, really tough. So at that point, you're saying, hey, we can sit back on him and wait for him to make a mistake. So he'll make a few plays with his legs, but eventually he's going to make the mental error, and we'll be there to capitalize. Joe Calzada, if he's healthy. Otherwise, Robbie, we're going to talk about this a lot for the next week, I believe.
For sure.
Few more comments here. B. Will knew it just like all real fans did. I'm not sure.
What did I know, Spicy? Tell me what I know.
I'm not sure what he's referring to there. Lawrence, what you drinking? Is it bourbon?
Yeah, it was Detling's Alabama bourbon. It's a favorite of mine. I don't even know if they have any on the shelves right now because he makes a small batch right here in Alabama. He's a good dude. We're gonna try to get him as a sponsor because he's a good dude. So
yeah. Gene Williamson coming through with some blasphemy. Yellow fellow was right the whole time.
You know what? Here's where I disagree because he wanted Kevin Steele. So no, he was wrong. I don't want Kevin Steele either.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to agree with you there, B.
Yeah, this was tough, guys. You are watching the War Report post game chat. This is where's my thing at? There it goes. And this is brought to you by PrizePicks.com. Go to PrizePicks.com and register. Use code REPORT to get 100% match on your first deposit. Now, if you're watching this and you can't chat, it's because you're not a member. Become a member. Support. We have 1,053 people in here. I know not all of y'all are members. So some of you are watching. Get in on the conversation by becoming a patron. Hit that join button at our YouTube homepage. And if you are already a member and you want to give the gift of the War Report to a friend or somebody else who watches our channel but can't sign up at this time, and you're watching from a desktop, hit that gifted membership button. YouTube chooses those members at random based on their interaction with our channel. They interact at a high level but have not become members yet. They are more likely to get or be the recipient of a gifted membership. So we appreciate this. Where does Auburn go from here? I mean, this was a beatdown, and this is probably one of the hardest things a coach has to do, right? Is that you just got busted up. And the narrative in the media, what the beat writers are going to write, it's all going to be very bleak. You have to find a way to keep your team focused, and you have to go out and you have to beat Missouri because this is only, in the grand scheme of things, despite what people will try to project, this is only one loss on the schedule.
Right.
And you have 9 more games to play. And so for the next 2, you got to find a way to compete against Missouri and LSU before you give Georgia your purity. So, like, what do they do from here? What do they do from here for the next couple games?
So here's really, honestly, okay, if let's say the world's a little different and Auburn was able to win this game, then you're able to continue along the same course. Maybe, you play TJ, you play Robbie, and then you continue that little back and forth for the rest of the season, and you win some, you lose some. What things falling apart allows you to do is break it down, back down to the foundation, and you look like you have justification for it. That's something Bill Belichick talks about, or people who played for him, is when you go into the locker room, even if you had a great game, we're going to have to find something for you to work on. And it's easier for players to listen when it's gone terribly wrong. So we're about to find out the true measure of Brian Harsin as a coach, not in victory, but in defeat. Because now I saw some body language from our team that I haven't seen since 2012. Straight up.
Yeah, I have to say, I agree. Ooh. I think that TJ's body language toward the end, and I didn't know if it was because of his shoulder, didn't look great. Yeah. So it could have been because of the injury, but I agree on the body language.
Yeah, and to me, that's probably the most alarming thing. We had been kind of hanging our hat on. Okay, well, we lost games last year, but we were never out of any game except maybe save Georgia because late got away from us. But this was the first time in the Harsin era where we were beaten this soundly, and I saw the players. It looked like doubt, and he has to now save this locker room to save the season. And the choices he makes as far as personnel, as far as how long you stick with personnel before they move on, all of that is going to factor into if he can keep the team together and if we can be competitive against the teams that we have left on the schedule. Because we don't know yet. Penn State might actually be good this year. And we won't know until they get into the heart of their conference play, until they play their Michigan States and their Ohio States, because they got to play those people.
I think they play Michigan when we play Georgia. So we'll learn a lot more about Penn State.
Yeah. So they've got to play some of the best teams in the country, just like we're going to have to. They may actually be legit. So we could be looking back at December like, damn, you know what? Penn State won their side of the division. Maybe it wasn't crazy that we lost to that team based on where we were at the time. But we have to be able to, Brian Harsin has to be able to collect the faces and the wheels of those guys in that locker room and give them a reason to believe that he knows what he's doing and that he's going to make the best choices for the team going forward. Fortunately, we have one of the worst teams in the conference coming here next week to beat up on. And even then, I kind of chalk some things up as a W. We can't take anything for granted anymore.
I told you that last week, and you were like, "No, Missouri."
I mean, Missouri is bad. Don't get me wrong, Missouri is bad, but we're not great. So we definitely need to show, and I think this will focus them because I think now you can tell them, listen, y'all ain't that good. I mean, then he's not gonna say it like that, but you can't take anything for granted. We have to work for everything, and really, I don't know how much he may or may not lose the team when you are coaching at quarterback the way you are. Like that's squarely a coaching decision. It's not, oh, well, TJ did this and then Robbie did that. There is something lost when you change guys out constantly like that. I will always believe that. Rhythm is a real thing. It looks stupid when Gus did it against Clemson in 2016. And when you have the offensive result that we had today, it looks stupid today. You doing all this changing for 12 points? We could have kept one guy in there and got 13. It's not a good look. It's not a good look, and it's something can be salvaged because really this is just one game. It's like you said, this is one game. It's one out of conference game. The entire season is still, the conference schedule is still ahead of us. We're not going to go undefeated, but can you show some fight? Can you play up to whatever our potential is? Even if we do have a ceiling on our talent at offensive line, can you find a way to get us around it? Quick passes are a great way to get around offensive line in inadequacies. But you have to install it and you have to be willing to go to it. And you have to be able to make that decision early so you're not having the wrong game plan week after week after week. And you run into a defensive line who is good enough to trash your game plan. So stop sticking with this game plan where you need to hold up for long passes and 20-yard throws and 30-yard throws. They look good when they're completed. But if we're going to hold this long for those passes, for that downfield offense, you've got to have an answer against the better defensive lines in the conference.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say that Harsin, the experimentation is over with. Whatever Harsin has been doing up to this point, scrap it. What is our identity moving forward?
Right.
In light of what we saw today, what is Auburn's identity? How are you going to form an offense around guys who can make plays for you? Even in the QB position, who made some of the better plays? You're going to have to go with that. And you're going to have to come up with a way, as Mike alluded earlier, to get the ball out of these QB's hands. And you're going to have to manage them better. I just didn't like how some plays were called when it was an obvious passing situation.
Right.
And you got an inexperienced QB in there who's trying to prove himself. He's not going to throw it away. He's going to try to go for a big play through a pick. Those coaches have to manage these kids better to begin building whatever was broken in the trust. That's on them. That's their responsibility. The guys who are the skill players, guys who are your leaders, you got to start with them. I don't know how you do that. Never been a coach, but moving forward, we need an idea. We don't need to, after Missouri, we shouldn't be asking what is the Auburn's offense. Point blank. We shouldn't be curious about the direction of the QB position. We shouldn't be curious about that. That doesn't bode well for the next few weeks or for this season. Fix what's broken. You don't have an identity. Find one.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, I think, if you're going to continue to switch. I think that, again, based on the reports that we heard coming out of this practice this week, that there was some anticipation that they may end up here, because you don't just suddenly start giving Calzada first team reps unless you understand, hey, if some of the things that we've done in the first couple games continue, it might necessitate a change. So I would just caution everybody about thinking that the coaches aren't aware of this, but they gave, I think what I like about what they've done is they've given a chance for the players to decide it on the field.
They have.
Right. And this is where I got to say,
fair.
If you're TJ and they decide to move away from you, none of us can sit here and say he wasn't given a fair shot to be the guy and stay the guy.
It's not last year where you were thrown into a situation that you had to make the most of. You had all off season, spring, fall camp to show, and you up to this point, the coaches was riding with you. They were impressed with your improvement, your knowledge, understanding of the offense. Coach Harsin called you another coach on the field at one point in preseason.
Right.
So if they go in another direction, you can't say you didn't get a shot.
Okay, guys. Our guy Richard at the Rogue Shop is texting me. He knows that we're all in pain right now. The Rogue Shop has created a special code. So instead of rapport, it's war rapport. That's all one word, war rapport. Put in that code for 25% off Delta 8 gummies. Guys, it's rough right now. We need all the emotional and psychological support that we can get as a fan base, as a channel, as brothers and sisters in Christ. We need help right now. The Rogue Shop is here to help us get through these difficult times. Hey, listen, he's in everything. God is in everything, hopefully.
He was not in this.
Well, he was not in this. He was for Penn State. They're children of God too, Caesar. So we're trying to get through this. Rogue Shop is trying to help us. I appreciate my guy Richard for reaching out. Again, rogueshop.com. Use code rapport to get code War Report to get 25% off all Delta 8 gummies. They've got some good stuff over there at the Rogue Shop too, so I highly recommend that. We're waiting on Harsin to enter the post game here in a little bit. So if you're watching, we're going to put that post game conference up for you guys to watch. Please go to our channel to watch that. I'm interested to hear what he has to say. The Beat is going to hold his feet to the fire after this. You're muted, B.
Yeah, they will. There's been enough sentiment from the public, from the Auburn public, about Brian Harsin. It's like we knew he had this year to figure it out. Whether or not that's too soon, I would personally say before you hire any head coach, you give him at least 3 years, no matter who it is. I don't care how bad it looks. Give him 3 years. That's just me. Everybody kind of felt this sway of, all right, well, they tried to get him out of here after year one. They're definitely going to do it year two if he shows even the slightest bit of weakness. This type of loss is hideous, but until he loses enough games, like we could still end up winning 7 games and be better than last year. I'm not saying that that's enough. I'm saying that if he shows enough improvement, does that mean, hey, we're headed the right direction? But with the sentiment around Harsin being somewhat negative, and my wife told me she ran out to get some food right before the game started. I kind of stay at home. I watch the game and prep and tweet with y'all online. And she was like, oh my God, there's nobody out there in Auburn. If y'all lived in Auburn, most of our audience, we have been in Auburn for game days. Auburn on game days is crazy. Cars are everywhere. People are everywhere. Bodies are everywhere. This week, this game day, she drove right up to the Chipotle that's like a block off campus. No lie. There weren't people just everywhere, and you got to kind of like stop, even though it's not a crosswalk, and like, come on, what are you doing? Oh, it's game day. Go ahead. There wasn't any of that. the city was a lot more muted than it usually is for a big game. San Jose State, I get. Mercer, I get. For Penn State, what we have seen is that the stadium was filled up. Okay. The stadium was filled up. People paid their money. They were going to go see their team. It looked like Auburn showed up, which is great. However, the people who usually come to Auburn just to be in this atmosphere for the game but not get tickets, they didn't come. There was enough doubt about Brian Harsin or TJ Finley or both to where people who usually make that trek down here and watch and celebrate this team decided not to come. It's all public sentiment about who he is as a coach, whether or not he's a fit for this school and for the culture and for this team. That is now going full negative. It is tilting way the other way because of this loss, because people were already convinced he didn't deserve the job, that he couldn't do the job. And this loss gives them more evidence of that than any loss we had last year. This is a bigger failure today than any loss we had last year. So what I expect the media to do with the beat is going to ask those questions, because some of them have those questions. Some of them doubted whether Brian Harsin could have done anything as soon as his name was announced. And because they're people, they've got opinions just like every fan has opinions. So they see what goes on at Auburn, and they doubted whether or not Brian Harsin could do this job. Now, again, let me reiterate. You gave everybody 3 years at least. I like the rookie model for the NFL. I'm going to give you 4+1. The team decision on your last year. I like that. Scott Frost got his 4+1. And you probably knew after year 4 that it was over for Scott Frost. But that was his home team, so they gave him +1. Didn't work out. Got it correct. At least 3+1. If Brian Harsin doesn't correct course, he's not going to get to 3. He's not. And it's unfortunate. I don't think it's fair, but that's the situation he's in.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's new news, right? Like, sure. I think he needed to win 8 games this season, or it was always going to be in doubt, right? Like,
right.
Like we knew that coming in. There's not even more pressure on winning 8 games now than there was before the game. He always was going to have to win 8 games.
I think it's scary. It kind of sends you into a panic the way we lost, to B's point, because we never envisioned losing like this, especially given how close we was a year ago on the road against Penn State. You didn't think that they would come back home and just blow us out as if we were on the road again in game 3. And this is year 2, so you were expecting these guys to be more bought in, more in tune with the culture, game plan, whatever. They believe these coaches trust the coaches. For this to happen in this way, it sets a bad tone for the rest of the season, even if it is just emotional at this point.
Yeah, I mean, how you respond, I think, to this says more about your team than what happened during this game.
Yeah.
How you come out next week will say more about what this team is made of than what we saw this week. Good teams get blown out sometimes. I think this coaching staff is still learning. These players are still learning. They're not throwing into the towel, so I don't think any fan should be either. Al Dente, O-line playing Red Rover out there, embarrassing. Yes. It was tough to watch. Yeah, Jamal Pye, if there was a comment here, hit us with it. We'll get back to that. James Jordan, is Robbie the move going forward? He gave us our only spark. We'll see. Amani Smoot, it seems we don't play with tempo, or do we have hot reads when teams blitz? We made Penn State look better than they actually are. I'm mad. The way I feel everybody will get their walking papers. Let me sleep. I'm mad as hell. Lots of emotions.
Monty, man, listen, I love you. Continue to be optimistic, but make yourself a sandwich and go to bed, man.
Yeah,
ain't nothing left for you tonight, brother.
The Rogue Shop might have some things that can help you. Visit them.
Absolutely.
John Mendinghall became a member. We appreciate you, brother.
Welcome.
Jerome, there was a bunch of O-line prospects at the game on visit. It was a perfect pitch to show how badly they are needed.
You know what? That's true.
Yeah, like for sure.
Now that's a silver lining.
I think that the downside is there's some battles that you're in for guys at other positions that this Memes was texting me during the game. It was like, man, the stands are clearing out, and this was like early in the third quarter.
Yeah,
and
man.
when you have recruits there, that's not something that you want them to see. So I'll be interested to see how that. Wilkie Denard was at the game, and there were some guys who have committed other places, but they were hoping to make a move on them. And the negative recruiting is going to ratchet up after this. He's not going to be there, and it will be an effective pitch. So it's going to be tough for them.
For sure.
John Bradley says no one thinks Calzada is elite, but his SEC game experience is extremely valuable. He could have gotten a little better since last season. We don't know, but we would like to see. I think we're going to see it. Personally, I think if this is your wish, you're going to get it at some point before Georgia. So stay tuned on that one. Ben Bloworth, we appreciate you. Missouri State is being Arkansas on the 3rd. Listen, whenever Auburn has a bad day, it seems like there's somebody that's going to come through and say, hold my beer. Texas A&M did it. Notre Dame did it. Maybe Arkansas lays a complete dud to give us hope for the rest of the season.
17-0?
Yeah. Wow.
In the wait, this is the second. No, it's the second quarter. Okay. Okay.
Oh, he said, okay. It's the second quarter.
Yeah.
He said in the
Trino,
third
though.
In his thing. It's in the
second
quarter?
He meant second.
Okay.
All
right. Thomas Dickey, we could have had Kirby Smart. You sitting here reminiscing about the times of yore. I appreciate that. That is true. Victor says, I have been on TJ's side. It may be time to pull the plug. By the way, I'm a new member.
Welcome, Victor.
Welcome, Victor. Glad to see you in here, man.
A lot of people are going to be here, and I want to be clear. I think that this is fair. This is 100% fair. If you're over it, there were a lot of people who were over it last season, but I like that this coach gave the players the chance to play it out on the field and do it early before your season is actually in jeopardy, because it's not in jeopardy at 2-1. I'm not buying that narrative right now. There might be a lot of pressure, but season's not over after week 3. I promise you, Texas A&M isn't hanging it up after their loss, right? Notre Dame, shit, they might be now. I think 0-4. Did they win today?
Well, they won.
They won.
Yeah, but still, I mean, their panic button is definitely blinking red over there, but we'll see how that goes. Bryant Harris, I think TJ played a decent first half, better stats than Clifford, but him doing the electric slide before the interception, knowing the rush was coming behind him was crazy. Got to have that sixth sense, man. Like, good quarterbacks can feel pressure. They understand when to get rid of the ball. They have that presence, and you're not outrunning anybody out there if you're TJ. So once you start moving toward the sidelines, you got to know somebody's on your heels.
Right.
Get rid of the ball. I was really disappointed that he just either didn't take the sack,
throw it away,
or throw it away.
Just throw it away. And he tried to throw it away, but he had waited so long.
He waited too long
to get rid of it that when he decided to throw it, the guy hit him and the ball sailed to the defender. And that was one of the things that I was saying with TJ is you don't have to be Superman on a play. Just make your reads. If there's nothing there, throw it away. I was so pleased with TJ when he took the sack. Now, granted, he still could have threw it away in the first quarter, but he took the sack. We kicked 3 points. He didn't try to throw it into traffic or throw it into coverage. He just took what the defense gave him. If the play isn't there, and it's a rollout play, so you don't have the whole field. So if nothing is there, you don't have the luxury of waiting for something to open up for you. Just get rid of it. And at week 3, we're not seeing that. Moving forward, knowing what we know about the O-line, again, I don't think it's a crazy take to suggest that, hey, the coaches may need to start looking elsewhere.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be really tough, I think, for him to hold on to this if things continue at this trajectory, because ultimately the pressure is on the staff. They do have to win now. So he's got to show improvement if they decide to put him back out there again. Erica's Candles. Guys, I know they're going to fire Harsin, so who's the next coach? Looking forward. Any ideas? Now, if you joined us, if you were here during the Gus search, we exploded during that. Never in my wildest imagination did I think that we would go through 2 coaching searches in as many years. But it might be a reality here if things don't turn around. I hope we're not talking about this come December. Jazzy Joe, our guy, always coming through.
Man, we appreciate you, Joe.
My man. This is because I love everyone in here. War Damn Eagle. I'm going to eat my feelings and slap somebody. Met Ike today. He's cool as a box fan. Ludacris had a song he made a while ago about like slapping his boss. I'm sure a lot of people feel this way right now.
Especially if your boss is a Bama fan, you probably
right.
Really slap.
Yeah, for sure. Always in your emotions. Marcus Holland, overall, I feel we win Missouri and LSU with major makeovers on D and offense, but GA looks like an ass whooping. Yeah, right. R.I.P. Keith Jackson. Georgia looks unstoppable right now.
Look scary good.
Man, they gave up their first touchdown of the season in garbage time with their like 8th team defense on the field. Wow, man, they're all aspects of the game. They look well coached.
Do we have to watch that game?
Yes, we do, and we have to make picks.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Spoiler alert about who I'm going to pick. Larry says, y'all didn't respect Singleton and PSU. I bet you do now. Good game. Been following you guys since last year's PS. I don't know that I was.
Listen, Singleton is a freshman.
Yeah, I didn't know nothing about
Singleton is a freshman. So you're not going to know a lot about a freshman, in all fairness, right?
Yeah.
So I saw that he had an explosive game against Ohio last week. I actually asked T. Frank about him because I saw some of his numbers and they looked good. And I know he was a big-time recruit coming in, but you never know how these kids are going to look in their first big game. Hey, good game to Singleton. He balled out.
Now, if you ask me, this would have been applicable to me with Jahan Dotson last year. Completely overlooked him, and he was a first-round talent. For sure. Singleton, we talked about this over at Locked On Wednesday, and we kind of brushed over it, but I didn't have a lot to say about Singleton because there's not a ton of tape out on him, right? And you never know. But listen, I mean, he took advantage of his opportunities, so props to that young man for having a decent game. John, again, it's also getting too expensive to go to games. I think that's part of it.
Okay, so you're saying that's why there's not like just huge crowds outside of the stadium. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think a lot of things have changed, and if you're going to get those people out there, you would need max enthusiasm around the program, which they do not have right now. Alabama Prep, good to chat with y'all again. B. Will's chant on Fisher was so good. I gained a lot of respect for B. Will, and also the second half of the game, I taught myself to make Mexican cornbread. Alabama Prep out here improving his skill sets at halftime.
Alabama Prep, I respect you for being productive even on a day like this, man.
I felt trapped. Like I was watching after they scored that second touchdown after the half. I was like, oh, I gotta watch the rest of this. Oh, it's like I can't. Like I felt like I'm stuck on this sofa. I can't say I missed something. Like, what if we have a good play? What if we start to build a little momentum and come back? But also, the longer I stay there, the worse it got.
Right.
Like, man, this is jeez.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. This is going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Harsin is in the post game right now talking to the media, so we'll have that video up for you guys as soon as humanly possible after this is over. But guys, man, this was a tough one. This was a tough one. I can't wait to hear what he has to say. And let me tell you, if they every bit of heat he gets from the media was earned today.
Yeah,
I agree.
That was earned today, right?
I agree.
You know, this is part of the job. You got to stand up in front of the media and talk after these things. It's difficult, but I'm more concerned about how they respond to this than what happened today. I think you put this one, if you're a team, you put this one behind you pretty quickly. And you start getting ready to beat a team that you should beat. And at the end of the day, if you win next week, you're 3-1. And there are a lot of teams in college football 3-1 who haven't hung up their season yet. So starting to project down the road to Ole Miss and Mississippi State and all these teams, that's not a luxury you can afford right now. You concentrate on what the next game is and winning that game.
And I say it, I know it's different years, different seasons, even different players. But I didn't know we were going to be Ole Miss or even Arkansas after Georgia State. Like this team can make some improvements. This coaching staff, the players can bounce back. It remains to be seen if they bounce back.
Right.
But it's possible because it happened just last year. Now, I know how the season ended, but in the middle of October, we were looking much better than how we looked in September. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing with this year.
You're right. B. Will Sports says, I'm not booging right now, guys. No more boog left. I learned this term the other day from the Locked On Discord. It is a term. It's a term for being a synonym for being an extreme homer. essentially, is what that is. I said Boogan, but apparently that's ignorant. So I'm going to stop saying that. There's lots going on here. We're going to be back tomorrow for our weekend tailgate after we've had a chance to watch the film and talk about this loss more, with a little bit more analysis. Guys, closing thoughts on this one. This was a tough day, but it's not the end of the season. Lots moving forward. What's the message to the fans after this?
Let's wait and see. Don't jump. Don't head to the ledge just yet.
Don't jump.
Okay. Some of your friends may have jumped already, but if you haven't jumped, don't jump just yet. Okay. Don't jump. Wait and see how this team responds, because that's very important. How they respond next week will tell you a lot about what you can expect with this team in the weeks ahead.
Brian.
Yeah, I want to think back to a Tommy Tuberville team that was actually picked to win the division, then laid an egg against USC, laid an egg against Georgia Tech, and then found themselves for 3 or 4 games into the season, and that built the foundation for what they were able to do the next year.
Yeah, they won 8 games that year.
Right. So he's still building something. We knew that this was no matter how many other people refused to believe it, this was a rebuild, not in talent, but in culture, attitude, and then finding the talent to fit what he wanted to do here. He's got his work cut out for him, but I still think we're going to see what he is and who he is as a head coach from this point forward. And let's just wait and see.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you guys on this one.
Uh-oh. Did he bounce out
a little early?
Well,
he meant to sign out, but
he meant to sign out. Again, shout out to Rogue Shop. Definitely head on over there to get all of your supplement needs. If you need to get through the night, just use code RAPPORT. We'll get through this together. Mike, go ahead and take it away, man. I was getting ready to start closing this out.
Yeah, that was a weird glitch there. Yep, as he said, want to thank Rogue Shop. Also want to thank prizepicks.com. Use code RAPPORT to get 100% on that first match. Become a member so you can get in on the conversation next weekend versus Missouri. It's going to be member only in our chat. We appreciate everybody for watching. And if you are a member, you want to give the gift of the War Report, and you're on the desktop, hit that gifted membership button. Bless somebody else with a membership so they can join the conversation as well. Fellas, till tomorrow, the weekend tailgate, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.